What's going on, Rovers? Sam here, back at it again with another video. With Brant's release just over a week and a half away, and a portion of his kit that involves a pretty robust shield, I wanted to take some time to discuss whether or not I think shields are actually a good mechanic in Wuthering Waves. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, Sam, how could shields possibly be bad in Wuthering Waves? They keep me alive, they prevent my characters from getting knocked back, which ultimately helps them maximize their damage outputs. How could that possibly be a bad thing? And I agree. At its core, shields can be fundamentally good, but I think when they become a crutch, it can really impact the enjoyment of an action based RPG like Wuthering Waves. Wuwa is so heavily predicated upon, you know, fast interactions, perfect dodges, dodge counters, parries. And I think if you have characters that just distribute these massive tanky shields where you can just kind of mitigate a lot of these interactions, I think it would just really hamper the overall experience. Case in point, if we talk about Big Daddy Zhongli, I think he is the pinnacle of mitigating combat in video games. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Zhongli. Shout out Keith, one of my favorite English VAs. But Zhongli is absolutely broken. Now, obviously, I understand canonically and lore wise, he's an Archon. He's supposed to be, but when a character is so broken that they literally have to introduce a specific enemy, aka Rift Hounds, I think there's also other enemies that if they hit you and you have a shield, they gain a shield, forget what they're called. But the fact that they had to implement these type of enemies to kind of mitigate shields and Zhongli, I think speaks volumes for how broken he is as a character. Now, I completely understand that, the combat in Genshin and Wuthering Waves are pretty different. Now, obviously, they're action RPGs. There's naturally going to be some similarities, but Genshin is much more predicated upon, interactions, whether that be hyper bloom, burn, melt, what have you. Now, Wuwa is kind of slowly starting to dip their toes into that, but that's really the crux and the core of Genshin Impact. Now you have characters like Bennett, where you pop his burst, you play quote unquote circle impact, and you're able to, you know, stay in one spot. You're only able to stay in one position. Yeah, you're gonna need a shield. You're gonna need a Zhongli. You're gonna need a Diona, Tank Fei, what have you, to be able to, keep your characters upright to maximize their damage output. Heck, there's a quite a few characters in Genshin like, C0 Neuvillette, Zhao, even Arlecchino that really need some sort of protection if you don't want to, invest in constellations, which, you know, Primo Gem is a Primo Gem is a Primo Gem. So I understand for a Genshin's perspective, because there is no perfect dodge, there's no parry, you know, shields are going to be a lot more useful and helpful in a game like Genshin than they are and Wuthering Waves. Now, I'm not saying having a shield and Wuwa would completely ruin the combat. I just don't want to see them become so robust that you really can, you know, trivialize a lot of the combat in the game. Now, I don't know if they can make a shield so robust that, you could absolutely stomp all of the holograms, but, just with how broken I've seen Zhong Li become and how much he drastically changed the meta in Genshin, my ears and my radar are perked up. Now, a lot of people say, "Hey Sam, just don't use Zhongli." Brother, if I use a Primo Gem on a character, why would I not use that character? Not using that character to make the combat harder is just artificial difficulty. That's not really something I feel like I should impose on myself. If the character is broken, I'm gonna want to use him. If the content isn't hard enough to justify that character being broken, then that's a game design problem. That's not a Sam design problem. So I know you could do that, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's my responsibility to make the game harder for myself, right? Now, with Wuwa, we don't really have a ton of shield characters at the moment. There's really only two, and technically a third with sequence nodes. So obviously, we have Zhang Jin, cool character. She does a lot. She can shield, she can heal, she can group, which is cool. I don't believe her usage rate is very high. I don't have the exact statistics, but I do know that she's not normally used in like the most meta teams. Obviously, her outro gives liberation damage, so you can find a way to squeak her in. Maybe if you don't have, on the top of my head, Yin Lin to pair with Mr. Yao, I think Zhang Jin could could be sufficient in that regard, but really not a must use character. And if she's kind of lacking, then Tao Chi is even worse. I mean, I don't think anybody uses Tao Chi. I mean, if in a pinch, maybe you don't have Zheja, you could potentially pair her with Carlotta. I mean, I would argue she's probably Carlotta's second, maybe third best support. So fine. But again, those characters have very, very, very low usage rate. So not too worried there. But with Brant, there's a lot of hype about the fabulous little captain and the fact that he has such a robust shield just baked into his forte circuit. I mean, if I pull it up here, I mean, this is at level 1. He has a 2500 plus 9 times 1% energy recharge modifier on his shield. Gamers, that is a pretty significant shield at level 1. I don't know what it's going to scale at as we get higher into the levels, but man, that is a pretty substantial shield out the jump. So that's why characters like Brant have me a little bit nervous. Even heck, I mean, we cue the tape on Zanny. We've seen her rocking a shield from time to time as well. So I just wanted to bring this to y'all's attention. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal of it than y'all will, but comment down below. What do you think? Would shields ruin Wuwa's combat? Do you not think it's a big deal? Do you think we need more shield characters to kind of counterbalance the combat to make it maybe, a little easier, or, just to help with, knockback or really optimizing our damage windows? Because, I do know that there's some characters like Camellia that, unless you have her sequence 1, can definitely be subjected to a lot of knockback, which isn't fun. And I'm sure there's going to be other characters that are going to have long rotations, long on field time that are going to require some protection. But I just wanted to kind of be like, hey, Kuro, let's not go down the path of shielding, because I don't think this game is really made for a lot of, just robust shields that really minimize and trivialize the overall combat in the game. But that's just my 2 cents. As I said, comment down below. Love to get y'all's opinions. And I appreciate y'all as always. And I cannot wait for Miss Zanny. Yep. I'm going to be a Zanny main. She could literally give 1 million shield. She could be smacking all the enemies with her shield like Leonidas. It don't matter. I need Zanny. I need the Italian queen. Sheesh.